Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Giorgio, your friendly neighborhood YouTuber slash podcaster, and I welcome you to another episode of Beyond Wrestling Podcast. And this is season 2, episode 4. And if you go in the description box of this YouTube video, you'll be able to download this from, Anchor and all the other podcasting links that they have on there. And I want this to be an interactive show with you guys. So if you all have any cool questions, make sure that you leave them in the comment section, or you can email me. I have an email in the description where you can email me questions and I'll answer them on the show. Or if you got any topic ideas, definitely let me know those. And so today we got 4 blazing hot topics that I'm going to hit you guys with, and I'm going to start it off with the newest news in wrestling right now, and that is Britt Baker's heel turn. And on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, we saw Britt Baker turn heel, and there's been some things going around for a while hinting at her turning heel. She was in the crowd on one episode of AEW Dynamite, and she just had this look of disgust on her face because she wasn't included, in the title match or whatever the case may be. And honestly, you guys, I think Britt Baker could have been booked better, since she's been in AEW. And I know they probably wanted to kind of put over some new talent that we don't know about. But let's just face it, I feel like Britt Baker should have been champion from day one. And I don't think that her as a babyface has worked out well for her. I think Britt Baker is a natural heel. You could just tell she has the look, she has a demeanor of a heel. And I just don't think a babyface character is the right role for her, at least right now at this point in her career, especially in AEW. I think this was the right opportunity to turn Britt Baker heel. And what I didn't like was when she was cutting this heel promo on Tony Schiavone. Now, yes, it could have been done better, could have been positioned better, but I didn't like that they had cut to commercial right in the middle of her promo. Like, you guys just have one of your top baby faces turn heel, and you cut to commercial right in the middle of her promo when they just had a commercial like 2 or 3 minutes ago during her match, and then they cut to another commercial break. And I will talk about the things I think AEW should improve on in another episode. But I didn't like that they cut to the commercial on her heel promo, and the fans were booing her and saying stuff too. They should have let it roll on. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was some time constraint stuff going on with that. But I don't think you should go to a commercial when one of your top babyfaces is about to turn heel. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they get that sorted out. We find out more information about that. I know JR was the one that signaled the commercial break, and she was cutting the heel promo on one of the AEW's lead announcers, Tony Schiavone, and that's one easy way to get some cheap heat on a heel wrestler, is by having them go after the announcer. It's been done before in WWE with JR. Whenever someone turns, they had this big heel turn, they usually have them go after JR. It's just a good way to get heat on the wrestlers. And I had no problem with the way they was doing it. Maybe they could have written it better, but I think that I didn't have no problem with it. And of course, you got people on Twitter running their mouth and everything, and I think that actually can play into Britt Baker's favor as a heel, because if you're gonna be a heel in this wrestling business, you gotta have fans that will legitimately hate you. And I do think there are a lot of fans right now that don't like Britt Baker for whatever reason. Some say she can't work, some say she's not that good on a promo, but I honestly think Britt Baker is a great worker. She just hasn't been booked correctly, and she hasn't been shown in the best light that I feel she could be shown in. So that's why I think the heel turn route is the best route for Britt Baker. I think, and she can also use social media as a way to get her even more heat, because there's a lot of wrestling fans on social media that are just so toxic. They take a lot of this stuff too serious, and I think as a wrestler, if wrestlers should use that to their advantage. You know, especially heel wrestlers. Because if you're gonna be a heel, like I said, you gotta have fans that legitimately hate you. You can't be a heel in wrestling and have fans cheering for you. You can't be nice to them, especially on social media. You should play that role to the fullest. And I know it's just a character, but in wrestling, the idea is to have it as real as possible. So honestly, I think AEW could write this a little bit better, and I'm pretty sure they will get it right. You know, this is their second year going as a wrestling company, so I think they will get the heel turn with Britt Baker right, and I think she has the ability to pull it off. I'm not going to be one of those wrestling fans that's going to immediately write her off. And speaking of the AEW women's division that I had touched on at the beginning of this, I'm going to talk about our second hot topic for this show, which is who I think should be AEW Women's Champion. Okay, so now this is something that's been really, getting on my skin as of late, is the booking of AEW's women's division. Most importantly, their women's champion, who is Riho. And I feel like she's the worst booked women's champion in wrestling right now. We barely see her on TV. When we do see her, she's winning. She's not in any kind of storylines. She's not cutting any promos. And that's not to say that she's a bad wrestler in the ring. She can work. She really can work. But her character they have not done anything with her character or with her as a champion to make me feel like I should get behind her, to make me feel like I should get emotionally invested in her as the AEW Women's Champion. And I feel like there's way better people who are more deserving of that role. Now, I understand Riho may have a connection with some female fans, and I get that, and AEW probably want to capitalize on the foreign market by having a foreign world champion. But then, at the end of the day, it's all about who's gonna put asses in seats, who's gonna pay for pay-per-view to see a big-time feud between a heel and a babyface and a good story, And I just don't feel like Riho is the right one for that position. She's been champion all this time. She's not, like I said, she's not in any stories. They haven't done anything with her character to make her super appealing like that, And I think either Britt Baker or Awesome Kong should be the AEW Women's Champion. Now, I'm surprised Britt Baker, who's like the first signee, the first female wrestler signed to AEW. I'm surprised she's not the Women's Champion by now. They made Jericho the world champion. They didn't waste no time with that, which I can understand that. You want a noticeable name. But I think Britt Baker should have been world champion by now, at least once, and so I honestly don't get it. And also, the tag team titles had changed hands already in AEW, so I feel like the women's championship should have changed hands by now. So if it's not going to be Britt Baker, who I think can make a good run with it as a heel, then I think Awesome Kong should be the one who has that AEW Women's Champion. Until they do something to convince me otherwise that Riho is the right choice, because me personally, I don't think she is. And they also need to do something with these other girls on the roster. You know, they have Shanna. I think she has a lot of talent, but they need to do something with her character so that and get her in a big storyline so that we can care more about her. Because at the end of the day, in the wrestling business, in order to really have long-term success, and there's veterans who can attest to this, you have to have a good character. You have to be able to talk on a microphone, and you have to be able to sell tickets. You know, you have to get fans emotionally invested in the storyline that you're in, so you can continue to be booked in the most top position on the card as possible. So I would love to see more from Shanna. I know that they signed Priscilla Kelly, but you can't automatically put her in the women's title picture, because I didn't even know she was signed until they showed her on the TV show. So, you know, you got to put her in the storyline. That Chris Statiner girl, she has something. They could have put the belt on her. I don't understand why they didn't put the title on her. She had the fans behind her, you know, so I don't understand why they didn't put the belt behind her. And now, and I know some people, you know, may say, you know, Rio, she's friends with Kenny Omega, so maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? But I think that we should have a new AEW Women's Champion by now. They do have the AEW Revolution pay-per-view that's coming up in February. I think that is the right time to change the title. So, you know, that's what I would want. I want them to book the women's division a little bit better. And I may touch on that women's division again in the future after I give them time to make some changes. You know what I'm saying? Okay, whew, we got through that one. And by the way, I love what AEW is doing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of fun things that they're doing. I love their presentation. I love the way their ring sounds. I love the commentary. They got some great stars that I enjoy watching on there. SCU, Moxley, Kenny Omega. I like Cody Rhodes, MJF. You know, they got some good talent there. It's just they got to work out those little quirks so that they can get to the top of the mountain, so to speak. And I think they can. You know, if they listen to, you know, good constructive criticism, AEW could become the top wrestling promotion in America. But anyways, speaking of wrestling promotions and all of this yip yap, you know, and also, you guys, let me know who you think should be AEW Women's Champion besides Rio. And let me know what you think of the Britt Baker Heel Turn. So now that we've gotten that out the way, let's talk about our third hot topic for this episode of Beyond Wrestling. And that is my favorite old school Royal Rumble. Now, the Royal Rumble to me is like, I kind of like the Royal Rumble, and then I kind of don't, you know. I'm generally not always a fan of those multi-man type of matches and stuff, but I love the old school Royal Rumbles that we had back in the day, mainly from the 90s. Those were some fun as Royal Rumbles. And, you know, and for me to go back and look, I think my favorite Royal Rumble was the 1992 Royal Rumble. And I know, and I might not be the only one who thinks that way. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of old school hardcore wrestling fans who may think that. You may think the same thing. That 1992 Royal Rumble, you go back and look at that card. You go back and look at the talent that the WWE or the WWF had back at that time. It was star-studded. Psycho Sid, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Bret Hart, Ric Flair was there. You know, the rise of The Undertaker. I think Ultimate Warrior was around at that particular time, but I don't think so. You know, he kind of was in and out of the company, I believe. But he did end up making his return, I think, at WrestleMania that year. But you know, at that Royal Rumble, you know, I thought The Undertaker was going to possibly win it. You know, it was just so much fun seeing all those legends and Hogan in there. And then, you know, no one ever really thought that Ric Flair was going to be the one to win that world title, because that's another thing about how great that Royal Rumble was the World Heavyweight title was vacant at that particular time, and it was put on the line in that Royal Rumble match. So that made the Royal Rumble more exciting, because I think at that time, I think either before that, when they had the Royal Rumble, they just had somebody winning. I don't think they were doing title shots or a person go on to WrestleMania or whatever. I don't think they was doing that at that particular time. But when they put that world title on the line for that Royal Rumble, it added something special to it. They added a must-see quality to that Royal Rumble. And so a lot of us was probably thinking maybe The Undertaker was going to win. Maybe Psycho Sid would win, which I thought that would have been cool. You know, I think Macho Man, but you know, Macho Man had already been champion at that time already, and Hogan had too. So when when Ric Flair won that World Heavyweight title in that Royal Rumble match, that was a complete shocker to a lot of people, you know, because Ric Flair, he was one of their top guys at the time, you know. So Ric Flair winning it, I think that was a big moment in his career up to that point, because I know he had, you know, a bad falling out in WCW, like towards the early, you know, at the beginning of 1990 or the late 80s or whatever. So when Ric Flair came to the WWF, it was a big deal, because he brought the big World Heavyweight title over there with him, you know. So I think Ric Flair winning, it was really good, you know, because you know, Taker, I don't think they was quite ready for Undertaker to be the world champion at that time. I know he won the world title once when he beat Hulk Hogan, but he quickly lost it at Tuesday in Texas. So I don't know if they just didn't see enough in the Undertaker at that time as their world heavyweight champion. So obviously when Flair came in, Flair still had a huge stock in the wrestling business. He was still one of the most talked about wrestlers out there at that time. So for them to put the belt on Flair, it made sense. It made sense because they thought, okay, we got this guy who knows what he's doing in the ring. He's one of the most beloved wrestling characters out there, and they thought putting the belt on Ric Flair would sell out buildings and stuff. And I thought so too. I thought Flair could have been handled a lot better. But going back to the surprise factor of the Royal Rumble in 1992 was, you know, like I said, having that world title on the line. And that brings me to this year's Royal Rumble, because you got the World Heavyweight Champion Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. I feel like the world title should be on the line, because when you do that, it pretty much guarantees you a new World Heavyweight Champion. So the fact that they didn't do it like they did the 1992 Royal Rumble is beyond me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like the old school 1992 Royal Rumble, because the title was on the line, because of the class of wrestlers that was in that Royal Rumble. That one, and then of course the commentary, you know, made it even more better. So that's my favorite old school Royal Rumble. What is you guys' favorite old school Royal Rumble? I'm curious to know that in the comment section below. Okay, so now that we talked about the old school, which I love to do that on this show, you know, talking about old school stuff in the wrestling world is one of my favorite things to do. And I love watching old school wrestling like WCW Nitro and the WWF Raw. So we're going to talk about the current Royal Rumble, because this is going to be one of the years. This is going to be one of the Royal Rumbles that's going to shape the future of the WWE going forward. This is a new decade, which means they got Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble, that his world title's not on the line, which means I think this could give Brock Lesnar, I mean, honestly, you guys, even if Brock Lesnar wins, it's not going to do anything for anybody if he wins this match. So I had 3 picks. You know, I like John Morrison, but honestly, I don't think they're gonna go with John Morrison to win the Royal Rumble, because he just came back, and I think he's gonna win the SmackDown Tag Team titles with the Miz, because they currently got this storyline with the New Day and everything. So I just don't see John Morrison being the one to do it. I like Drew McIntyre, my friend Ricky. That's his pick right there to win the Royal Rumble, is Drew McIntyre, and I would love it for Drew McIntyre to win. I mean, I think it's time for them to go with somebody new, and Drew McIntyre could legitimately beat Brock Lesnar like no other. I think he has everything, and if WWE does not pull the trigger on Drew McIntyre right now, because it looks like Drew McIntyre is turning babyface, so he's got the fans slowly getting behind him, you know, and if he wins that Royal Rumble and he faces Brock Lesnar, I think he can beat Brock Lesnar. And honestly, Drew McIntyre, he's taller. I feel like he might be just as strong as Brock Lesnar. I think he's just as fast, if not faster, than Brock Lesnar. So I think he has the best chances of beating him. So if you don't go with Drew McIntyre, I don't know what they're thinking if they don't go that route. Now, I know this might upset some people, but if they don't go with Drew McIntyre and they pick Roman Reigns, I know a lot of people are going to be pissed. A lot of people are going to be angry, but I'm just telling you guys, do not be surprised if they end up picking Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble. Just do not be surprised, because they've done it before. You know, Roman Reigns, he hasn't been in the title picture, but I do think he's going to be in the title picture going towards WrestleMania. And I think what's going to happen is Roman Reigns going to end up facing the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Now, whether or not that, and speaking of that, I'm going to talk about the Fiend in just a minute, but I'm just saying, you guys, don't be surprised if they go with Roman Reigns. I think everybody would love it if Drew McIntyre won the Men's Royal Rumble. And honestly, that would be my pick. But in the back of my mind, I still got Roman Reigns, because I know WWE management likes to do stuff like that. So, and I just brought up the Fiend because he will be facing Daniel Bryan for the SmackDown World Title. And I think this, if Daniel Bryan doesn't beat the Fiend at the Royal Rumble, then most likely Daniel Bryan is probably not going to be the world champion, at least for a good part of this year. The thing is, they had Daniel Bryan cut his hair. They got him in this extensive storyline with Bray Wyatt, or the Fiend. So obviously, you're going to do all of that. You're going to have him change his look. You should have him beat the Fiend for the title, right? But I guess we'll see. Hopefully, now, you know, obviously, if Daniel Bryan doesn't beat the Fiend at this pay-per-view, then you can definitely expect Roman Reigns to be the guy to hand the Fiend his first loss. You know, you can definitely expect that. But nonetheless, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I will be watching that. I'm trying to see what other matches are on that card. I can't really think of them at this point. Oh yeah, we're gonna have, I think, the SmackDown Women's Title, which I believe is Bayley versus Lacey Evans. I think Lacey Evans to be the world champion as well. I think she's worked hard enough to show that she can hang. She puts on really great matches. The fans love her, especially the young girls. And I think it's time. I mean, Bayley's had her time as the world champion, and it's time WWE start putting the belt on new people, because if they don't, then who knows what's going to happen. You know, you're going to have the same old, and I think it's time to take a chance, and I say put the belt on Lacey Evans, and then you have her face Sasha Banks, because she had hurt Sasha Banks' leg in a backstage segment. So you can have Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks. You know, you may even have them in a triple threat match at some point. You know, Lacey Evans versus Bayley versus Sasha Banks, or something like that. I don't know. But and then let's talk about the other women's matchup. Well, there's actually two more left in this review that I'm going to talk about. But I want to talk about Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Now, this is my thing with this matchup. I don't see Becky Lynch losing this matchup. Unfortunately, that sucks for Asuka, because I think Asuka is capable of being a great singles champion. I think Becky Lynch, at this point in her career, I think fans can get behind her more when she doesn't have the belt, when she's fighting for the belt, you know, or she loses the title, or she loses because of some crazy interference or something like that. You know, I think that's when fans really emotionally connected to her. So obviously, I just don't see her beating Asuka here. You know, I mean, I don't see her losing to Asuka. My bad. Yeah, I don't see her losing to Asuka in this matchup. You know, I do expect Asuka to put up a good fight. I do expect that. But you know, that's just what I think. Now, they could go for a surprise. Who knows? But I do think Becky Lynch wins this matchup right here. And without further ado, let's talk about the women's Royal Rumble and who I think could win that matchup. And here's what I'm thinking, you guys. I think Ronda Rousey is either going to be out of Ronda Rousey or Shayna Baszler. And I know some people are probably mad about that choice, but you gotta be honest, you guys. Who else is Becky Lynch gonna face? She done faced every single person, and you gotta give her something interesting to do. And I think a heel Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania will be a really great story. And then, of course, you can have Shayna Baszler. You can still bring her up and have her help out Ronda Rousey. Have her help Ronda Rousey beat Becky Lynch. So that means Ronda Rousey will be a heel world champion. You know, then later on down the line, you know, you have Shayna Baszler turn on Ronda Rousey, thus turning Ronda Rousey a babyface, and then you have those two face each other. But I think, like I said, I think Becky Lynch is better when she's chasing for the title as a babyface character. That's just my honest opinion. But I do think it's either going to be Ronda Rousey or Shayna Baszler to win the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, they do have Charlotte in there, but we done seen Charlotte in women's title matches before. We done seen her in those kind of matches. You know, we done seen her face Becky and everything. So it's like, it's time for something new. And I think getting that one-on-one match with Ronda and Becky Lynch will be a good thing, especially to sell tickets at WrestleMania. And then, like I said, you can add Shayna Baszler to that mix and make it a very interesting, you know, turn of events. You know, I would like to see Ember Moon back at some point and get her in a big storyline that could lead to a big title opportunity for her, because Ember Moon has a lot of talent. Maybe Toni Storm. You could throw Toni Storm in the mix as well, you know. But yeah, those are my picks right there. I'm strongly leaning towards Ronda Rousey if she returns. If Ronda Rousey does not return at the Royal Rumble, I can see Shayna Baszler being the one to do it, you know. But nonetheless, you guys, that wraps it up right here for Season 2, Episode 4 of Beyond Wrestling, the podcast. I hope that you all enjoyed the show. Let me know what you thought about the topics that I discussed here. And I can't wait to discuss more pro wrestling with you guys. I may do a pay-per-view review of the Royal Rumble as well as a bonus episode for Beyond Wrestling, but we'll see how all of that goes. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you in the comment section or wherever we may speak. And make sure you follow me on social media. The links are in the description of, you know, this bio of this channel or whatever. Anyways, catch you guys next time. Peace out.